Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Smart Show. As always, I'm your host Brian, here with exciting information on social change. Today we'll discuss a rather serious and underrepresented issue in the United States centering around the LGBTQ community. Welcome back. As promised, we will be discussing the LGBTQ community today, but more specifically, we're going to talk about healthcare. Now, you may already know about some of these health issues as they pertain to LGBT individuals, but today I'm going to direct your attention to the education system here in America. Since we'll be talking about schools, it seems only right that we bring this conversation to a classroom. Alright, so let's talk about sex. Well, not sex, but rather sex ed, and the lack of LGBTQ representation in high school sex ed classes. If everyone could please give a round of applause and welcome my guest star, Ashley, who's an expert in the field and is here today to give us more insights on that.
Thank you, Brian. Happy to be here.
Glad to have you. Now, I've been thinking about the issue a lot, and I feel like there has to be a connection between the lack of sexual education and poor healthcare for LGBTQ plus individuals. What's your take on this pressing problem?
Yes, well, what's really astonishing is that there's very little research on this issue, so it's hard to say if one problem is causing the other, but there definitely is a correlation. I think for that reason alone, it's really important that we advocate for change and incorporate LGBT perspectives in high school health ed classes.
I totally agree. If queer students don't feel like they're represented in school, how are they supposed to feel accepted and comfortable, and maximize their learning environment? You know, I think a lot of times high school is a time and place for personal growth and identity development. So, including LGBTQ representation in the curriculum could only aid that.
Right. According to a 2013 survey by GLSEN, just 5% of LGBTQ students reported having health classes that included positive representation of the LGBTQ-related topics. And a 2015 study by the Public Religion Research Institute found just 12% of millennials said their sex education classes covered same-sex relationships at all.
Wow, those statistics are unbelievable. We actually have my co-star Becca on the streets right now for some interviews regarding this issue. Let's go to her now.
Thanks, Brian. To emphasize those statistics Ashley just gave, I've asked people here on the diag in Ann Arbor, Michigan about their experiences with sex ed in high school. Here's what people had to say.
You guys talk about same-sex relationships in your high school sex ed?
No, definitely not.
Not at all?
No.
Did you guys talk about any, safe-sex practices for LGBTQ individuals, anything like that?
Nothing that's specifically, we talked about stuff that is, applicable to just humans, but nothing specific to LGBT people.
Right? So, did you guys talk about same-sex relationships in your sex ed in high school?
It was mentioned briefly, but there wasn't really an extensive discussion on it.
Did you guys talk about safe sex when you're in same-sex relationships?
Not specifically, no. It was just kind of lumped in with generic safe sex stuff.
So, did your guys' high school sexual education talk about LGBTQ individuals at all?
Very briefly, we touched on it a little bit, but really not much at all.
Mine didn't at all, not even a bit. I don't think anything was mentioned about LGBTQ individuals.
Did you guys talk about safe-sex practices for people in same-sex relationships?
We did a little bit. We talked about condom use, but it was kind of just very general, if you have a penis, wear a condom sort of situation. Other than that, not really.
Yeah, pretty much same. Condoms, and then we also talked about female condoms briefly, but that was about it. My health teacher also said that Abraham Lincoln died from syphilis, which we know is not true. So that was pretty much my sex ed education.
Thanks for that, Becca.
I think that video clip just goes to show that this isn't some issue that can just be pushed under the rug. It's a very real problem that causes real harm to LGBTQ individuals. If they're not being provided with the resources and education about safe-sex practices that the heterosexual counterparts are, they're going to have to turn to either other sources for information or not learn any information at all.
And this seems especially harmful because kids would be getting their information from the internet, which could be inaccurate or they would just remain ignorant or confused. The school system's purpose is to educate. We want our kids to be educated about the world and about their bodies. To completely ignore, demonize, or stigmatize this entire group of people as a part of a class's curriculum isn't helping anyone. So I think the main reason of bringing this problem into conversation is to get people to start thinking about it, and also to think of the solution. What solutions do you propose to fix this issue?
Well, 8 U.S. states actually have laws that explicitly prohibit implementation of inclusive curriculum that would address these LGBT issues. And I really feel that the first step in educating teens about safe-sex practices and healthy relationships would be to implement laws to enforce the inclusion of all sexual orientations.
I agree. And to take that idea one step further, I think public policy should also put more focus on educating teens about transgender identities, as that can kind of go hand in hand with sex ed and safe-sex practices.
Right, we definitely want these laws to be inclusive and intersectional. And another way I think we could do that is by having these laws provide the same resources to all schools. That way, schools in lower socioeconomic status areas will be getting the same quality education and information as those of higher SES.
Additionally, I think legislation like what you're talking about would address the needs of queer students who may also have a religious social identity and attend a private school. I'm sure such public policy would receive backlash, but if it's really a big concern, there are ways to present information on sexual protection regardless of sexual orientation. Some religious private schools don't explicitly teach LGBTQ-related safe-sex practices, but they do teach general objective ways in which students can be safe, emotionally healthy, and foster positive relationships.
That's definitely a step in the right direction. We just need to keep talking about this issue and bringing it up in conversation. Asking questions like, why aren't we talking about this? And is this curriculum inclusive of everyone?
On that note, unfortunately our time is cut short. Ashley, thank you so much for coming in today, talking with us. And thanks to all you viewers out there dedicated to raising consciousness. Join me next week with a new episode of The Tomorrow Show.